Good afternoon and welcome to the CRISM Therapeutics Corporation investor presentation. Throughout the recorded meeting, investors will be in listen-only mode. Questions are encouraged and could be submitted at any time by the Q&A tab situated on the right-hand corner of your screen. Just click Q&A, type your question, press send. The company may not be in a position to answer every question received during the meeting itself. However, the company can review all questions submitted today and publish responses where appropriate to do so. Before we begin, we'd like to submit the following poll. I'd now like to hand you over to Andrew Rebb, CEO. Good afternoon, sir.
So good afternoon. Thank you for taking the time to join this call to update you on our half-year results for CRISM Therapeutics Corporation. It's a privilege to present our progress since our mission to AIM earlier this year. For those of you who don't know us, CRISM Therapeutics, we're a drug delivery technology company, and our primary technology is localized treatments through chemotherapy of solid tumors, effectively in the cancer indication. Following our listing on AIM, a clear priority was to bring on a new board for the company, and my role here going forward is chief executive of the company. Just very briefly, my background: I'm a career in healthcare. I started off as a bench scientist many moons ago with GlaxoSmithKline. Moved from a bench scientist through to commercial with what is now GE Healthcare. And which was really my business took on my work very much on the commercial side and sales, business development, and licensing. My first startup was a company called DXS in Manchester. I joined the founders back in 2009, and we successfully exited to QIAGEN. I've been involved in my focus has been on starting and building companies in the healthcare space. Commercial BD licensing has been my priority. The brains behind the science, my colleague is Dr. Chris McConville. Chemoseed is his invention during his tenure at the University of Birmingham, and he's a highly regarded academic in the field of drug formulation and development. Clearly, as a listed business, we require to balance the board with non-executive directors, and we have a lot of talent and very much a complementary team. Our non-exec chair is Dr. Nermeen Varawala. Nermeen, first and foremost, is a qualified physician. She's also, and importantly for us, a serial life science business leader. She's achieved numerous successful exits and was head of an example of which she was head of clinical development at BTG International when it was acquired by Boston Scientific for some $4 billion back in 2019. Importantly, Nermeen's got a great deal of depth in the contract research space, and her clinical development experience is going to be very valuable to us going forward. I'm also very pleased to welcome Jerry Beanie. Jerry has a career in the financial markets. His core expertise really has been working with and advising high growth companies on their growth ambitions. He's an AIM expert, and I guess his kind of leading role was really leading Grant Thornton's capital markets team back in the day when it grew to be the largest independent advisor from AIM. So I hope you will understand we have got a great level of complementary skills across the team. So really just look at the background to the company just briefly. Chris has really majored on drug delivery for the whole of his career. Probably one of the most formative developments he's involved in was the vaginal ring for HIV treatment. And this concept of local treatment is something he's really embraced, and was looked to apply that treatment in other indications, and certainly regarding cancer. Cancer clearly is a challenge for drugs to reach the tissue for the treatment to be effective. And having, with his advanced experience, his first opportunity really was to look at cervical cancer, where it's been understood that less than 1% of the therapy actually reaches the cervix. So clearly there's an opportunity here, and he's really committed himself now to working with those cancer indications where there's really this significant unmet need. And brain and pancreatic are two of the keys for him. And what we have with the technology that he's created, these implants could actually just be putting the cancer treatment directly into the tumor by literally inserting it through our implantable device, which I'll come on to talk about shortly. So importantly, our highlights, the The company, our admission to AIM took place on the end of May. So what we're really talking about here is just 1 month on the market to our interims. The listing was the reverse takeover. The Amur Minerals was a cash shell, having sold its assets in March of last year. The company was committed to retain some of the cash back for a future transaction for its shareholders. As was agreed at the time, we've secured some 1.95 million in cash to enable us to take the ChemoSeed technology forward. And as of the end of June, we have 1.862 million in the bank. And this is a key amount of money because this will take us through now. Given the clinical quality, the clinical data that we have, we have line of sight now of a phase 2 clinical trial, which is a registration trial, ideally starting towards the end of next year. If I may just take a moment to reflect, because this is a real challenge for small companies. There's some great technology has come through the preclinical phase, but crossing through what we affectionately refer as the valley of death is just trying to transition those technologies from preclinical into clinical. And cost-wise, regulatory costs, manufacturing costs, it can be quite a hurdle. So this actually is a remarkable position to be in terms of our funding position. Now, given that the period we're looking at is just a 1 month on the market, I really want to spend just a few minutes on what we've been doing post-period end. The one that I think is just so important to us on our journey to go into clinical trials is the innovation passport. We put a note out to the market just a couple of weeks ago to say that the MHRA, which is the Medicines, Healthcare and Product Regulatory Agency for the UK, has awarded us the innovation passport, which takes us into a program we nickname iLab. This is the innovative licensing access pathway, and effectively, and it's the mission really from MHRA in this is to accelerate the time to market and facilitating access to novel treatments for patients. The reason these programs come about is where there is significant unmet need. Clearly, in the example we have of a brain tumour, there's a low incidence of the disease in the population, so not much research or funding goes to it. But importantly, it has to be assessed on the basis that it will likely provide a benefit to patients, and that's what we've successfully achieved. And this opens up onto this pathway going forward. I mentioned cash burn. We have a finite amount of cash. It's really important that we ring-fence this cash and we remain focused to deliver what we need to do. We're still looking at other sources of funding, and we're pleased that given Chris's experience in the formulation space, that we have offered in the past contract development services, and Infotech placed a contract with us for some formulation development work back in July, valued around 230,000. For opportunities for grant funding, we also received a small grant, 25,000 from Spark. Spark is an interesting fund. Spark actually came out of Stanford University in the US, and is wholly focused on supporting small companies, academics, and other healthcare physicians really in opportunities where they need funding for unmet clinical need. The final point, as something goes back for a while, is our drug delivery methodology. Chris, in his role with the previous Professor Garth Cruikshank at the University of Birmingham, they ran a phase 1 study, taking the drug, irinotecan, that we use into the brain. This is really important in terms of the looking at the opportunity for local delivery, as we call it, and that was just published this last month in the well-regarded journal Cancers. The investment case, we still believe this is, as laid out in our mission documents. Risk is key in a healthcare opportunity, and so taking irinotecan is well known, it's well understood, it's no longer on patent. It was originally discovered by Pfizer. It's still used in frontline indications such as bowel cancer, so that gives readers the risking. We're in discussion on what other further work we need to do with the MHRA. We've ring-fenced some 400,000 should any further work need to be done. Our plan is, though, to make an application to for a clinical trial authorization to start trials at the end of next year. We have already been through other assessments on our data so far, and the Scientific Advisory Board for a leading clinical trial in Birmingham brain matrix effectively endorsed our technology and strategy. But importantly, the market opportunity hasn't been necessarily been attractive for other pharma companies. This will work well for us. We've had independent health technology report, from Page Consulting, and based on their figures, the high-grade glioma, that's grade 3 and grade 4 of brain tumour in the markets of the UK, Europe and the US would total some 1.77 billion. So, and this really is our proving ground for the technology before we move into other indications. But again, ILAP is key. That gives us that great engagement with the UK regulator. And as I say, this is targeted to take us into other markets. And then coming on from there, other indications clearly in due course. So I may just reflect briefly on the technology. So we term it ChemaSeed. It's implantable and biodegradable. So effectively, we combine a chemotherapeutic, in this case of irinotecan, with a polymer, and this is these seeds are effectively about the size of a grain of rice. So it's very easy to visualize how these can be implanted into the tumor. There are development opportunities around it, incorporating different drugs and personalizing the treatments. Probably in the first instance, subject to funding, we would probably look into other indications. And clearly, if we can show merit in the high-grade glioma indication, we really have a great opportunity to take this into other areas, prostate, pancreatic particularly, and that's another area that Chris is passionate about alongside the brain, given that, again, we've got a condition where we've not improved the treatment literally for decades. So the breadth of the applicability, we believe is really important. Just to give you a quick snapshot of how this works in practice, this is a methodology and a protocol we've been guided by the neurosurgeons. And I guess one of it's kind of pleasing in its simplicity. So here we're talking about the brain tumor indication. So we're talking about a resection cavity. So in grade 3 and grade 4 brain tumor, patients go through surgical removal of the tumor, and which the primary reason for that is to reduce the pressure in the brain, which really clearly generates the symptoms. But despite the brilliance of the neurosurgeons, there will always be a region of the tumor which is inoperable. And sadly, this is the part where the patient will progress after a period. So the concept, it really is quite simple with ChemaSeed, is that we put the drug-loaded seeds, and we literally will kind of pepper through the resection cavity all these seeds into those regions which were inoperable. And on the right, you can see the methodology here. You can see the seeds. The distribution matters that the seeds need to be placed a suitable distance apart to allow for the drug diffusion to treat all the tissue deep into that tumor margin. And we've got now a biopsy needle. It's a biopsy needle that we would use then to stick the seeds into the tumor tissue. It's a very quick methodology, and neurosurgeons are very clear that we can't have any treatment which is going to extend unnecessarily the time that the patients and the surgeons spend in the operating theatre. If I may just also reflect on the drug, again, I've talked about risk. This is a well understood drug. The benefits of accelerated review through the MHRA, we believe that we could be on the market as early as 2028. And that's given early indications from the clinical trials unit. We'd be looking probably around a 2-year improvement for the study. The unmet need, as I've talked, is significant. Currently, overall survival is just 14.6 months for glioblastoma. So a signal, really, we should have an early indication on potential success with our treatment. The reason for the support with MHRA is the peer-reviewed paper I mentioned from the previous study. In the phase 1, the drug was shown to have low toxicity in the brain. It's only one of only 2 drugs introduced directly into the brain. So clearly, we're already ahead of the curve in terms of the acknowledgements and favourable discussions so far with MHRA. This issue of toxicity is so important because the systemic issues, side effects of treatments that are given by tablet or by infusion really often are treatment limiting for patients. So this was what we've seen so far has had a positive review. The other benefit with the ChemOC technology is that we have a sustained release of the drug into the tissue. This isn't just a one-shot treatment. From our laboratory data, we will have release over at least 7 days, and it could be as much as 30 to 45 days. So that continuous and sustained release of the drug through the tissue and our ongoing treatment, we believe is going to be really important, and that's how we believe we're going to have a good clinical performance. But the part of the data, this goes back from the early work that I was involved in when I got involved with ChemOC. The animal data we've got here is compelling. So just explain this very, very quickly on these lines here. The black line coming down is the animals that didn't survive during the treatment, and the placebo actually is no treatment at all. So you can see, sadly, the animals die really, really quite quickly, given the nature of the disease. The important one is the red line. We lost one mouse through the surgical procedure, but actually the mice that from that who had the irinotecan, which is the red line, ChemOC, there was no recurrence in any of those animals up after 148 days. And 148 days isn't a random number. Just to be clear, 148 days was the ethical limit of the study. So all the animals had to be euthanized at that point. And just to put it in perspective, the other two lines here, the yellow and the green. The yellow line is irinotecan, our drug of choice. And to the right of it is the green line is temozolomide, which is the current standard of care for brain tumour. Now, we haven't chosen temozolomide, but the reason it's a standard of care, you can see here, it has an improved efficacy over irinotecan because it does cross the blood-brain barrier, way more effective than irinotecan. Irinotecan, we believe, is a safer, more effective drug, and that's our reason to take it forward. But clearly here you can see the benefits of local delivery compared to systemic, and the dosing here of irinotecan and temozolomide are through transfusion. And this is the data that, what can I say, I feel it's indicative of a potentially transformational form of treatment. And that's really where we're driving our discussions with the regulators based on this, on what we have here. Importantly, what's it worth? Well, we've done some work. We've had an independent health economic report prepared, and that was done. So taking the incidence of the disease in brain and CNS, and the estimated value of the treatment for patients, we estimated the market for the UK, Europe, and USA in the brain tumour indication is somewhere in the region of £1.7 billion. Importantly here, the figure we've had from there's an estimate for the UK treatment cost of 13,400 is important because it's well within the 20,000 qualitative life year estimates that would normally expect to be authorised by NICE. We don't want this to be some astronomically priced treatment which is going to generate further health inequality. So that is very much an important part of our mission here. The other figures, we have just taken an indicative treatment cost of £10,000 per patient, but given the market sizes, the numbers are certainly significant, and the opportunity for future indications. So just in final summary, we are on track. We're working now on the clinical trial authorization, and this we need to get submitted. Our plan is described in the mission document by the end of this year, and it's in the high-grade glioma indication for brain tumour. And the the cash that we've been fortunate enough to get is going to be protected to make sure that we do get to that point. The plan is then to request the commencement of a clinical trial towards the end of last year, based on our chemosync formulation with irinotecan. We mentioned the 2-year trial window, but we will continue. The cash burn is key. We have minimal overheads. There's just a few staff costs. Everything is going to get us to where we need to be. We will pick up opportunities. We can still, for academic relationship with the University of Birmingham, we can still take on contract work through the team. And so examples like Infotech, we will continue to pick up. But it's a platform. I think we're going to be starting an amazing journey. There's much we can do with if we can prove in our first indication. And clearly, the sooner we can start to commercialize, commercial success is obviously the fundamental driver of shareholder value. And I'm under no illusions to where my responsibility sits with this. So what we have it is unique. Our patents are filed, and we think we can apply the technology across different drugs and different indications. We have every reason to be optimistic. The shareholders that we have, we greatly value your commitment, your optimism here as well for us, and I hope you'll continue to support us going forward. So thank you very much for taking your time and attention for the slide. And if I may, happy to look to any questions.
Fantastic. Thank you very much indeed for the presentation. As Andrew said, ladies and gentlemen, do please continue to submit your questions just using the Q&A tab just situated on the right-hand corner of your screen. But just while Andrew takes a moment to look through those questions submitted, I'd like to remind you the recording of the presentation along with a copy of the slides and the published Q&A can be accessed via your investor dashboard. Andrew, as you can see, we've had several questions that have come through today. If you could just click on that Q&A tab just there, and where appropriate to do so, just read out the question, give your response, and I'll pick up from you at the end. Thank you.
That's great. Thanks, Paul. The first question has come up. Please can you tell me more about the Innovation Passport Award? What did the application process involve, and what does it mean for the company going forward? It's Innovation Passport is the most significant. It is the kind of the key to open the door, the gateway for our regulatory strategy. So what it involves is in order to join Innovation Passport, so you can't go onto ILAP, the Innovation Licensing and Access Pathway, without Innovation Passport. So that is your starting point. 3 key criteria for Innovation Passport is it has to be a life-threatening condition with significant unmet clinical need. It comes under the rare disease, so there's a low incidence of disease in the population. But importantly, it has to have been reviewed that it has the potential for patient benefit. And on this basis, the application that we make, which is very detailed around the drug, the dose, the administration, the data that we've generated so far, which I've just shared with you, really goes to an assessment. So there's a steering group, which is not just the MHRA. It also includes the health assessment bodies in Wales and also in Scotland. And importantly, our own Health Technology Assessment Agency, NICE, also part of that panel. So even though it's a rare disease and it's important, just by submitting it's not a given that you will be able to join this program. To give you an example by perspective, I think on the MHRA's website now, there's been globally, obviously people can submit globally for a regulatory pathway in the UK. And there's been 229 applications so far, but following review, just 115 have actually been awarded an Innovation Passport. So we've taken some pride in the fact that we've got through this part. What does it mean for us? Key aspects I mentioned is the accelerated regulatory review is the fundamental. But what's important to you, we get a continuous engagement with the MHRA. So we have a rolling review with them, so we're working through and building the regulatory data set, which is really, really important. And then really it's about the conditional getting through. The idea is that because of the low patient numbers, we can get an approval, it will be conditional, so there'll be an ongoing monitoring of the technology going forward, but it does give us this quick access to the market. Just one final point. ILAP also dovetails with something called Project Orbis. Project Orbis is an FDA strategy initiative for the US market, but it also embraces other regulatory jurisdictions, for example, Switzerland, Canada, Australia. So that's something that hopefully we'll get some insight to as we move forward. How do you anticipate? So next question. How do you anticipate chemosector will be priced, and how will it try to be justified, particularly in the context of limited competition and the unmet need? I kind of picked up on some of that on the health economic data. So the guidance that, the report estimated that we can show an improvement in 6 months and overall survival. That was given an estimated value around 13,500 per patient. So that is well within my understanding of nice approval for pricing. Clearly, it will be assessed on its merit. The nominal figure for one quality adjusted life year, so that's one disease-free period of a year, would normally have an estimate of some £20,000 at the moment. It can go as high as 50 for unmet need. So, but we really are trying to avoid a situation. Chris keeps reminding me that this we want a treatment here, given the severity of it, that it's available to all comers. So one thing we're very conscious of is we don't want to be exacerbating any situation regarding health inequality. Next question, why limit your research to brain tumour at the moment and not multiple other cancers at the same time? Great question. It really is financial. We've got a finite amount of money, and I think, we have to choose one thing and make sure we do it well. And brain tumour is the one that where we're starting with. To put it in context, the time to run the trials is also much lengthier. So given the severity of brain tumour, we will hopefully have a signal really quite quickly. Other indications, let's say, for example, prostate, locally advanced prostate, you'd have to show an improvement in treatment over, because it's largely a watch and wait condition. It could be a 10-year trial. If it's an advanced patient for prostate, it's probably a 5-year trial. So we're looking soon we can show proof of concept, and then we can then move very, very, very quickly going forward. Thank you for that question. Next one, what advantages do you have using pre-approved drugs from a regulatory and commercialization standpoint? That's a great question. Clearly, there's every aspect of the treatment is going through an assessment. And we've had an early assessment with MHRA, we've had early conversations with them. The fact is, we're with a drug that is out there, it's still being used, it's well understood. Toxicity, as in the FDA has the mantra of do no harm, we need to make sure that the drug is understood. And at this point for us, it would introduce another variable. We have done work with other companies on novel treatments, but I think we can get a quicker move going forward now with the treatment that we have. I think I'll answer that question. Future plans. What are our future plans for day-to-day funding? The current cash position will run dry at some point. We're working to address this. Absolutely. Our cash is finite. It can get us to where we want to be, where we're committed to being in our first indication. We're not spending anything outside of that. We don't have offices. We're not funding. We'd love to fund more of an R&D basis. That would jeopardise where we are going forward, so we won't be distracted. We will need to replace that at some point in the future. We certainly don't need anything in the short term. When we're working closely with our senior advisors, SP Angel, who are also our advisors as well as and our broker. Another question, why is there no movement to the share price? There was quite a lot of movement, I'll be honest, to begin with. We did my hands up here, we did see a decline in the share price to begin with. It's slightly unusual, post-admission, the all of those of us that were invested through Interim Pharmaceuticals, we are locked in. We currently hold somewhere in the region of 73% of the company. But I do fully understand that the incumbent shareholders from what was Amoa Minerals, their monies have been locked up on during the 6-month suspension of the stock following their listing as changing situation to be a cash shell. We also need, in order to the complexities of the transactions for that to conclude, it actually took a little bit longer. So I think a number of people did look to sell. At the moment, it's we're not that well known. I think we need to get our word out, working very closely with Buchanan Communications, who are our PR agency. They're doing an amazing job for us now to try and get the word out. People need to know more about us and what we're doing, and now we're really looking to do that. Our share price has ticked up and it's stabilised, and it's ticked up again as we're starting to release the news flow. I think it's important, but I take responsibility to ensure that we do step up on all of those commitments that we've made. So thank you for your question, but it is my focus, and I'm acutely aware there's an expectation that we do show progress. In final terms, we're clear what's going to be done in the next several months, and bottom line is I very much look forward to keeping you updated as we move forward.
Fantastic, Andrew. Look, thank you very much indeed for answering all those questions that have come through from investors. Of course, any further questions do come through, you'll have the ability to review those. Andrew, I know you gave a few final words there. I don't know if there's anything further to add. If not, I'll redirect the attendees to give you your feedback.
That's fine from my side. Thank you, Paul, for hosting.
Fantastic. That's great. Look, thank you very much indeed, Andrew, for updating investors today. Can I please ask investors not to close the session, as you'll now automatically be redirected to provide your feedback in order the team can better understand your views and expectations. This will only take a few moments to complete and is greatly valued by the company. On behalf of the management team of CRISM Therapeutics Corporation, we'd like to thank you for attending today's presentation, and good afternoon to you all.